Question 1. Who has the final say on the order of the product backlog? A. The Scrum Master. B. The developers. C. The product owner. D. The stakeholders. Answer: C. The product owner. The product owner is solely accountable for effective product backlog management, which includes its ordering to best achieve goals and missions. While the product owner may be influenced by stakeholders, the Scrum team, or the market, the final decision-making authority for the product backlog's content and ordering rests with them. This ensures there is a clear, single point of accountability for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the developer's work. Remember, the product owner owns the what and why, while the developers own the how. Question 2. A sprint is cancelled. What should happen to the completed and done product backlog items from that sprint? A. They should be discarded as the sprint was unsuccessful. B. They should be reviewed and potentially accepted for the next increment. C. They should be moved directly to the next sprint. D. They should be presented to stakeholders for immediate approval. Answer: B. They should be reviewed and potentially accepted for the next increment. If part of the work from a cancelled sprint is potentially releasable, the product owner typically accepts it after verifying it against the definition of done. The core concept here is that value should not be wasted simply because the sprint's overall goal became obsolete. All incomplete product backlog items are re-estimated and put back on the product backlog for future consideration. So, a good rule of thumb is that any work that is truly done and has value is preserved, while all other work goes back to the drawing board, the product backlog. Question 3. What is the primary purpose of the sprint review? A. To provide a status report to management on the team's performance. B. To inspect the outcome of the sprint and determine future adaptations for the product backlog. C. To demonstrate the increment and get formal sign-off from the stakeholders. D. To plan the work for the next sprint. Answer: B. To inspect the outcome of the sprint and determine future adaptations for the product backlog. The sprint review is a crucial event for inspection and adaptation, which are two of the three pillars of empiricism. Its main purpose is for the Scrum team and stakeholders to collaborate on the work that was just completed and to discuss what to do next, which provides valuable input for the product backlog. While a demonstration of the increment is part of the review, the event is a working session, not a formal sign-off or a status meeting. Always think of the sprint review as a chance to get feedback to steer the product in the right direction for the next sprint. Question 4. During the daily Scrum, the developers seem to be reporting status to the Scrum Master. What is the most appropriate action for the Scrum Master to take? A. Take notes and create a report for management. B. Thank the team for the update and end the meeting. C. Coach the team on the purpose of the daily Scrum, which is for the developers to plan their work for the next 24 hours. D. Ask each developer to provide more detail about their tasks. Answer: C. Coach the team on the purpose of the daily Scrum, which is for the developers to plan their work for the next 24 hours. The daily Scrum is an event for and by the developers to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog for the upcoming day's work. It is not a status meeting for the Scrum Master or any other manager. A Scrum Master acting as a true leader would coach the team to help them understand this purpose, fostering self-management and peer-to-peer accountability. A key takeaway is that the Scrum Master serves the team by ensuring they use Scrum correctly, not by managing them. Question 5. What are the three pillars of Scrum's empirical process control? A. Planning, execution, and monitoring. B. Commitment, courage, and focus. C. Transparency, inspection, and adaptation. D. Product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment. Answer: C. Transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Scrum is founded on empiricism, the theory that knowledge comes from experience and making decisions based on what is observed. This is implemented through three pillars: transparency, which means the process and work are visible to those performing and receiving it; inspection, which involves frequently checking progress toward goals; and adaptation, which is about adjusting the process or product based on what was learned during inspection. For example, the daily Scrum is an event where developers inspect progress, inspection, and adjust their plan for the day, adaptation. Just remember the acronym TIA, transparency, inspection, adaptation, as the foundation for all decision-making in Scrum. Question 6. A manager asks the Scrum Master to provide a performance report for a specific developer. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Gather the requested data and provide it to the manager. B. Explain that performance is a team responsibility and individual metrics can be counterproductive. C. Ask the product owner to provide the performance data. D. Tell the manager to observe the daily Scrum to assess performance. Answer: B. Explain that performance is a team responsibility and individual metrics can be counterproductive. In Scrum, accountability belongs to the team as a whole. Specifically, the developers are accountable for creating a valuable, useful increment each sprint. Focusing on individual performance can create unhealthy competition, discourage collaboration, and undermine the team's collective ownership and self-management. The Scrum Master's role is to protect the team from such disruptions and coach the organization on Scrum principles. A helpful way to think about this is that Scrum focuses on team output, not individual output. It's about the we, not the me. Question 7. Who is accountable for creating the sprint goal? A. The product owner. B. The Scrum Master. C. The Scrum team. D. The developers. Answer: C. The Scrum team. The sprint goal is a single objective for the sprint, crafted collaboratively by the entire Scrum team, product owner, Scrum Master, and developers, during sprint planning. The product owner proposes how the product could increase its value, and through discussion with the developers about what is feasible, the team crafts a sprint goal. This shared objective fosters focus, commitment, and flexibility within the sprint, giving the developers a why behind the what they are building. Think of the sprint goal as the team's shared mission for the sprint, which everyone agrees to and works toward together. Question 8. What is the time box for a sprint retrospective for a 1-month sprint? A. A maximum of 8 hours. B. A maximum of 3 hours. C. A minimum of 4 hours. D. It is not time-boxed. Answer: B. A maximum of 3 hours. The Scrum Guide provides recommended time boxes for events to avoid waste, and for a 1-month sprint, the sprint retrospective is time-boxed to a maximum of 3 hours. For shorter sprints, the event is usually shorter. The purpose of this event is to plan ways to increase quality and effectiveness, so the time box ensures it remains a concise and productive meeting focused on continuous improvement for the Scrum team. An easy way to remember the time boxes is that for a 1-month sprint, sprint planning is 8 hours, the sprint review is 4 hours, and the sprint retrospective is 3 hours. Question 9. Who creates the definition of done? A. The product owner, as they are responsible for the product's value. B. The Scrum team. C. The organization, to ensure consistency across all teams. D. The Scrum Master and the Quality Assurance Department. Answer: B. The Scrum team. The definition of done is a formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. It is created and owned by the Scrum team to ensure everyone has a shared understanding of what it means for work to be complete. If the organization has a standard definition of done, the Scrum team must adopt it as a minimum and can add to it to create an even more stringent version for their product. This shared commitment is crucial for transparency and for delivering a high-quality, potentially releasable increment. Question 10. The developers have selected the product backlog items for the sprint. Who is responsible for creating a plan to deliver these items? A. The Scrum Master. B. The product owner. C. The developers. D. The project manager. Answer: C. The developers. The developers are a self-managing unit, which means they decide how to turn product backlog items into a done increment within a sprint. During sprint planning, they select the items and then create a plan, the sprint backlog, for how they will accomplish that work. The Scrum Master's role is to facilitate this process, not to dictate the plan, and the product owner's role is to clarify the selected items and the sprint goal. This empowerment is key, so remember, the developers own the how of the work. Question 11. What does it mean for a Scrum team to be cross-functional? A. Every member of the team can do every task. B. The team has all the skills necessary to create value each sprint without depending on others outside the team. C. The team is composed of members from different departments within the organization. D. The team uses a wide variety of technologies and tools. Answer: B. The team has all the skills necessary to create value each sprint without depending on others outside the team. A cross-functional team in Scrum is one that possesses all the competencies needed to accomplish the work and create a potentially releasable increment without waiting for help from external specialists. This doesn't mean every person has every skill, but that the collective team has the required skill set, such as testing, design, analysis, and programming. This structure minimizes external dependencies and delays, enabling the team to deliver value efficiently. Think of a cross-functional team as a self-sufficient unit capable of taking an idea from the product backlog all the way to done. Question 12. When is it most appropriate for the Scrum team to discuss and adapt their process? A. During the daily Scrum. B. During the sprint review. C. During the sprint retrospective. D. Whenever a problem arises. Answer: C. During the sprint retrospective. The sprint retrospective is the formal event in Scrum dedicated specifically to inspecting the team's own process, interactions, tools, and definition of done, and creating a plan for improvements. The entire Scrum team participates in this event to discuss what went well, what problems were encountered, and how those problems were or were not solved. While improvements can be made at any time, the retrospective provides a dedicated, structured opportunity to focus solely on making the team more effective. This is the team's primary continuous improvement meeting. Question 13. A product owner is under pressure from stakeholders to add more work to the sprint after it has already begun. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Add the work to the sprint backlog for the developers to complete. B. Tell the stakeholders that their requests cannot be considered until the next sprint. C. Coach the product owner on how to protect the sprint goal and work with stakeholders on scope. D. Advise the developers to work overtime to accommodate the new requests. Answer: C. Coach the product owner on how to protect the sprint goal and work with stakeholders on scope. The sprint goal should not be endangered, and the scope of the sprint backlog should be held stable to allow the developers to focus. The Scrum Master acts as a coach, helping the product owner learn to negotiate with stakeholders and explain the trade-offs of introducing new work mid-sprint. While the sprint backlog can be adjusted through collaboration between the product owner and developers, this must be done without compromising the sprint goal. The Scrum Master's role here is to reinforce Scrum principles, not to act as a gatekeeper or force a solution. Question 14. What is the relationship between the product backlog and the sprint backlog? A. They are the same document, just viewed differently. B. The sprint backlog is a forecast by the developers of what work can be done in a sprint, selected from the product backlog. C. The product backlog is a subset of the sprint backlog. D. The sprint backlog is created by the product owner, and the product backlog is created by the developers. Answer: B. The sprint backlog is a forecast by the developers of what work can be done in a sprint, selected from the product backlog. The product backlog is the master list of everything that might be needed in the product. During sprint planning, the developers select a set of items from the top of the product backlog that they forecast they can complete within the sprint. This selection of items, combined with a plan for delivering them and the sprint goal, constitutes the sprint backlog. So, the sprint backlog is a specific plan for one sprint, derived directly from the overarching product backlog. Think of it as pulling a small batch of ingredients, product backlog items, from the pantry, product backlog, to bake a specific cake, the sprint goal. Question 15. The Scrum Guide states the Scrum Master is a true leader who serves. What does this primarily mean? A. The Scrum Master acts as an administrator, scheduling meetings and taking notes for the team. B. The Scrum Master focuses on the needs of the Scrum team and the wider organization to help them achieve their goals. C. The Scrum Master makes key decisions for the team to ensure they move in the right direction. D. The Scrum Master has line management authority over the Scrum team. Answer: B. The Scrum Master focuses on the needs of the Scrum team and the wider organization to help them achieve their goals. The concept of a servant leader means the Scrum Master's primary focus is on serving others, not on exercising power or authority. They lead by coaching, facilitating, removing impediments, and helping everyone understand Scrum theory and practice. For example, instead of telling the developers what to do, a Scrum Master might ask powerful questions that help the team discover the best solution for themselves. This leadership style fosters an environment of collaboration, self-management, and growth. Question 16. What is the purpose of the daily Scrum? A. To report progress to the Scrum Master and product owner. B. To provide a detailed breakdown of all tasks completed yesterday. C. To inspect progress toward the sprint goal and create a plan for the next 24 hours. D. To resolve complex technical problems and re-estimate work. Answer: C. To inspect progress toward the sprint goal and create a plan for the next 24 hours. The daily Scrum is a 15-minute, key inspect and adapt event for the developers. Its purpose is to improve communications, identify impediments, promote quick decision-making, and consequently eliminate the need for other meetings. The focus is always forward-looking: how are we progressing toward the sprint goal, and what will we do today to get closer to it? It is not a status meeting for anyone outside the developers. A good tip is to remember the daily Scrum is a planning meeting for the next 24 hours, not a reporting meeting about the last 24 hours. Question 17. Which Scrum value is most demonstrated when the developers commit to achieving their goals and supporting each other? A. Focus. B. Openness. C. Respect. D. Commitment. Answer: D. Commitment. The Scrum value of commitment is about dedicating oneself to achieving the team's goals and supporting each other in the process. When the developers take ownership of the sprint goal and work together to deliver a done increment, they are showing commitment. This value is crucial for building trust and enabling the team to tackle complex problems. For instance, a committed team member might offer to help a colleague who is struggling with a task, knowing that the team succeeds or fails together. This value is the glue that holds the team's collaborative efforts together. Question 18. Who is responsible for managing the progress of work during a sprint? A. The project manager. B. The Scrum Master. C. The product owner. D. The developers. Answer: D. The developers. As a self-managing team, the developers are responsible for tracking and managing their own progress toward the sprint goal. They do this daily during the daily Scrum and by keeping the sprint backlog up to date to reflect the current state of their work. The Scrum Master does not manage their progress but rather coaches them on how to do it effectively, and the product owner is focused on the product's value, not the team's day-to-day work management. This autonomy is a core principle that empowers the team to take ownership of their work. Question 19. What is an increment? A prototype of the product for demonstration purposes only. B. the sum of all the product backlog items completed during a sprint and the value of the increments of all previous sprints. C. The list of all tasks to be completed in the next sprint. D. A technical document outlining the architecture for the upcoming features. Answer: B. The sum of all the product backlog items completed during a sprint and the value of the increments of all previous sprints. The increment is a concrete stepping stone toward the product goal. Each increment is additive to all prior increments and thoroughly verified, ensuring that all increments work together. For an increment to be usable and potentially releasable, it must meet the definition of done. This ensures that at the end of every sprint, the team produces a tangible piece of value that is integrated with all previous work. Think of it like building with Lego bricks. Each sprint adds a new, fully connected section to the overall structure. Question 20. If multiple Scrum teams are working on the same product, who is responsible for ensuring the work is integrated into a single increment? A. A designated Chief Scrum Master. B. The product owner. C. An integration team. D. The Scrum teams themselves. Answer: D. The Scrum teams themselves. When multiple Scrum teams work on one product, they must mutually define and comply with the same definition of done to ensure their work can be combined. The developers on all the Scrum teams are collectively responsible for creating a fully integrated, valuable increment at the end of every sprint. While frameworks for scaling exist, the fundamental responsibility for integration lies with the people doing the work, the Scrum teams. This fosters collaboration and shared ownership across the teams. Question 21. What is the role of management outside the Scrum team? A. To assign tasks to the developers and monitor their daily progress. B. To manage the Scrum team's work and solve their daily problems. C. To support the Scrum team by creating an empirical environment and removing impediments the team cannot resolve on its own. D. To direct the product owner on what to prioritize in the product backlog. Answer: C. To support the Scrum team by creating an empirical environment and removing impediments the team cannot resolve on its own. The role of managers in an organization using Scrum is to act as enablers, not directors. They should support the Scrum framework by fostering an environment where empiricism can thrive, which includes respecting the team's self-management and the product owner's authority over the product backlog. They also play a crucial role in removing organizational impediments that are beyond the Scrum team's influence. A good manager helps the team by clearing the path, not by telling them how to walk it. Question 22. Which Scrum event is the best opportunity to synchronize activities and create a plan for the next 24 hours? A. The Sprint Review. B. The Daily Scrum. C. The Sprint Retrospective. D. The Sprint Planning. Answer: B. The Daily Scrum. The Daily Scrum is specifically designed for the developers to synchronize their work and create a realistic plan for the next 24 hours to achieve the sprint goal. It is a quick, 15-minute planning event where the team inspects their progress and adapts their plan for the day. While sprint planning sets the overall plan for the sprint, the Daily Scrum allows for daily course corrections. Remember its purpose: it's the team's daily huddle to ensure everyone is aligned and moving in the same direction. Question 23. During a sprint, the developers realize they will not be able to complete all the items in the sprint backlog. What should they do first? A. Work overtime to finish everything. B. Immediately inform the Scrum Master and product owner and collaborate on how to best achieve the sprint goal. C. Cancel the sprint and start a new one with a more realistic scope. D. Remove items from the sprint backlog on their own. Answer: B. Immediately inform the Scrum Master and product owner and collaborate on how to best achieve the sprint goal. Transparency is a key pillar of Scrum. As soon as the developers recognize a challenge to the sprint plan, they should communicate this openly with the product owner. The team can then collaborate to find the best way forward, which might involve adjusting the scope of the sprint backlog while ensuring the sprint goal remains achievable. The goal is to make the best decision together to maximize the value delivered, not to hide problems or force a failing plan. The mantra here is, inspect and adapt. The team inspects the reality of their progress and adapts the plan collaboratively. Question 24. A Scrum team has been in place for several sprints. The sprint retrospectives are becoming repetitive and the team is not identifying any meaningful improvements. What is a likely cause? A. The team is perfect and has no need for improvements. B. The Scrum Master is not facilitating the event effectively or a lack of psychological safety is preventing openness. C. The sprint length is too short for any real problems to surface. D. The product owner is not attending the sprint retrospective. Answer: B. The Scrum Master is not facilitating the event effectively or a lack of psychological safety is preventing openness. The sprint retrospective's purpose is continuous improvement, and there is always room for a team to get better. If retrospectives become stale, it often points to a facilitation issue or an environment where team members do not feel safe enough to be open about problems. The Scrum Master is accountable for the effectiveness of this event, which includes varying the format and fostering an atmosphere of trust and respect where genuine issues can be raised and discussed. The key is that a good retrospective requires both a solid structure and a safe, open environment. Question 25. Who is accountable for ensuring the Scrum team adheres to Scrum theory, practices, and rules? A. The product owner. B. The developers. C. The Scrum Master. D. The entire Scrum team. Answer: C. The Scrum Master. The Scrum Guide explicitly states that the Scrum Master is accountable for establishing Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. They do this by helping everyone, the Scrum team and the organization, understand Scrum theory and practice. This involves coaching, teaching, and ensuring the Scrum framework is being used correctly to maximize the value created. While the entire team practices Scrum, the Scrum Master is the one person specifically accountable for its effective implementation. Think of the Scrum Master as the guardian of the Scrum framework.